In this video, we're going to talk about Trichomonas vaginalis, which is the causative agent of Trichomoniasis, which is very common in man and women. But one of the basic differences is just that men are asymptomatic while women are symptomatic. Now, in the previous video, we talked about the Trichomonas species, and we were able to explain the morphology as well as the life cycle of some representative of Trichomonas, and we were able to mention Trichomonas tenax, Trichomonas fruitus, Trichomonas hominis, amongst others. And we mentioned that Trichomonas are parasitic protozoan, and they are what? They are flagellated protozoan, where they have a posterior flagella that arise from kinetosome, and they have anterior flagella about 4, 3 or 5, and we say they have a recurrent flagella that runs backward to form an undulating membrane, right? And we say they have an axostyle that runs down their body. They have a nucleus. They have an endosome. They have paracostal. They have paracostylar granules, and most importantly, they have the what? They have the undulating membrane, and they can be differentiated on the basis of the length of the undulating membrane and the numbers of their flagella. On the length of the undulating membrane, there are some that the undulating membrane is longer than the body, while there are some that the undulating membrane is shorter than the body. There are some that have 3 flagella, like Trichomonas fruitus. There are some that has 4, like Trichomonas vaginalis, and there are some that has 5, like Trichomonas hominis. So in this video, we'll be talking about Trichomonas vaginalis. Trichomonas vaginalis is an aerobic flagellated protozoan parasite and the causative agent of sexually transmitted disease called Trichomoniasis. It is most common pathogenic protozoan that infects human in industrialized countries, and we can say Trichomonas vaginalis are cosmopotalian parasites of the urogenital part, and it is found in both men and women. It is found in the vagina and may be found in other urogenital parts, where in men it is found in the ureter, the prostrates, the seminal vesicle, and other parts of the urogenital system of men. So I can actually say they are found in what? They are found in the vagina in female, while in male they are found in what? They can be found in the urethra, they can be found in the what? In the prostrates, they can be found in the prostrates and seminal vesicle, as well as other urogenital parts of what? Of men. Transmission occurs via direct skin-to-skin contact with infected individual. So transmission is by skin-to-skin contact with what? With an infected individual, right? And we mentioned that this group of animals, the often transmitted through vaginal intercourse. Often they are transmitted through what? Through vaginal intercourse. So I mark that through what? Through vaginal intercourse. And it was estimated that about 260 million cases of infection are acquired annually worldwide. The estimate for North America alone, North America, is between 5 and 8 million every year. You understand? And asymptomatic cases is as high as what? As 50%. Remember, I told you that most men are asymptomatic to what? To Trichomonas vaginalis. So, moving from there to the morphology of these animals. They are similar to Trichomonas tenax. That is one of the things that you have to note. They are similar to Trichomonas tenax, but they are slightly different in size. And they only exist in one morphological state, which is trophozoite stage. That is the only morphological state that they exist in, and they cannot encyst, which means they don't exist in what? In cystic form. The protozoan does not typically adhere to one shape, as in different condition the protozoan might be able to like change their shape. They often display themselves as pear-shaped or oval-shaped, while in some cases they can appear as what? As oblong. You understand? They can appear as what? As oblong. And they can be like amoeboid shape as well. They are slightly larger than the white blood cell, measuring about 9 to 7 micrometer in both forms. Trichomonas vaginalis has 5 flagella and 5 flagella. They have 5 flagella. They have 4 protruding, which is the anterior, and they have what? And they have one posterior, which forms the what? Which forms the undulating membrane. You understand? While the functionality of the fifth one, which is the undulating membrane, is not really known. You understand? The axostyle. The axostyle of this animal is used for what? Is used for attachment to surface and may also cause tissue damage, as seen is in trichomoniasis. The nucleus is elongated and is located near the anterior end of the protozoan within the cytoplasm, which may contain many hydrogenosome. So I can actually like illustrate the diagram of this group of animals, and we have something like this. Remember I said they are what? They are oval shape or what? Or pear shape. So we have something like this, and they said they have what? They have they have 5 flagella, which is like this. They have 4, which is anterior, and they have 1, which is posterior, which is an undulating membrane. Now they have an axostyle that runs downward. You understand? And they use this axostyle for what? For attachments, and they can also be used for tissue damage, as seen in what? As seen in trichomoniasis. Remember they said the what? The nucleus is elongated. The nucleus is what? It is elongated, which means the nucleus is not small. So they have something like this as the nucleus, which may consist of several what? Several hydrogenosome. It can consist of several hydrogenosome. You understand? And the now the Trichomonas vaginalis does not have cyst form, like I have mentioned. Organism can survive up to 24 hours in urine, semen, and even water samples. That is where they can survive outside the body of their host. For what? For 24 hours. The non-motile round pseudophytic form with internalized flagella are observed under favorable condition, which means under favorable condition, that is, they are not inside their host. They can be seen as a pseudocyst. And when you say something is pseudo, it means false. It is not really a cyst, but it is a false what? A false cyst. You understand? A pseudocyst. And it is non-motile. It cannot what? It cannot move. The ability to revert to trophozoite form to reproduce and sustain infection has been described, along with a microscopic cell staining technique to visually disdain the elusive form, which I'm going to show the structure of Trichomonas vaginalis under what? Under a microscope. I'm going to show a picture of Trichomonas vaginalis under what? Under a microscope. So this is a structure like an hand sketch of what? Of Trichomonas vaginalis, of what I just like drew now. So look at it. We have what? We have the anterior flagella, which I have noted the other time. We have the kinetosome, and kinetosome is wherever the flagella originates from. And we have the what? We have the posterior flagella, which forms the undulating membrane. We have the parabasal body. We have the endosome, which is consisting of hydrogenosome. We have the nucleus, which is elongated, like I've mentioned. We have the undulating membrane. We have the axostyle, which is used for what? For attachment, as well as what? As well as tissue damage. You understand? And this is what? It is the parabasal fibrils. And we also have what? Paracostal granules. You understand? So that is what? That is the structure of what? Of Trichomonas vaginalis. So this is another structure. Look at it. Can you see? We have what? We have the anterior flagella. We have the undulating membrane. We have the nucleus, which is elongated, and we have the what? We have the vacuoles. So this is a 10 microns. So this is an axostyle. Can you see? It runs down the body. You understand? The axostyle was run down the body, and they use for what? For attachment. You understand? So we can move from there to the disease that they actually cause. Remember, I told you that the disease caused is let me write it somewhere around there. Trichomoniasis. Trichomoniasis. That is the disease that they cause. You understand? That's the name of the disease that they cause. And what is the sign and the symptoms of this particular disease? The sign and the symptoms of this particular disease. Now, for those infected with Trichomonas vaginalis, many people are asymptomatic, which means they don't really know. And sign can be difficult to ascribe trichomoniasis. You understand? And as common as they are common signs, they can be associated with many sexually transmitted infection. Around 70% of those infected do not present any sign. They do not. Around 70% of those that are infected with what? With Trichomonas vaginalis do not present any signs. But when they are exhibited, men and women do differ. Once infection ensues, signs could take 5 to 28 days to present themselves. Men with this infection can experience itching. So that's the first thing, itching and discomfort inside the penis, unusual discharge and burning after ejaculation. Women similarly experience itching, burning. So we have in pink, we have itching, burning, soreness, burning, soreness, discoloration of the vulva and the vagina. There is discoloration of the vulva and the vagina. Additionally, women can experience discolored discharge, like a discolored discharge with fish-like odor and discomforting peeing. In severe case, about 40% of women can develop cervical disorder known as strawberry cervix, and in which the cervix appears to have a small red dot covering the surface, which is indicative of blood vessel hemorrhaging. So they can also cause what? The hemorrhaging of the what? Of the blood vessel. What about the symptoms? Infection with Trichomonas vaginalis called Trichomoniasis is sexually transmitted. I think I've mentioned that it is sexually transmitted. Infection of the urogenital tract, and a common cause of vaginitis in human, that is inflammation of the vagina. They can cause inflammation of the vagina, and in men they cause a prostate infection. Remember I told you that they can be found in the what? In the urogenital part, like the prostate and other part of the urogenital part of a man. So they can cause what? They can cause prostate infection, and they can cause urethritis, which is what? Inflammation of the urethra. You understand? And also, they might be a fruity greenish vaginal discharge with musty malodorous smell is characteristic. Like they can be presented with a greenish vaginal discharge, and someone that is infected with trichomoniasis may or may not develop symptoms. You understand? It may or it may not develop symptoms. Remember, I told you that many are what? Are asymptomatic. Many are having Trichomonas vaginalis and they are what? They are asymptomatic. You understand? So these are the what? These are the symptoms of what? Of Trichomonas vaginalis. Remember, burning and itching, as well as discomfort when urinating, is common in both male and female if they are symptomatic. Are you getting me? So what are the complications? What about the complication? Now, talking about the complication, women include in women it includes preterm delivery, low birth weight, and increased mortality, as well as predisposing HIV infection, and it can also cause vaginal cervical cancer. Not that it is the main reason, but the secondary infection that can come with trichomoniasis is vagina cervical cancer. You understand? Trichomonas vaginalis also have been reported in the urinary tract, the fallopian tubes, the pelvis, and can cause pneumonia, bronchitis, and oral lesion. Condoms are effective at reducing but not fully preventing the transmission. Trichomonas vaginalis infection in male has been found to cause asymptomatic urethritis and prostatitis, which is inflammation of the what? Inflammation of the urethra and the inflammation of the prostate, but it is asymptomatic. They won't really show symptoms. Most times they don't really show symptoms. And it has been proposed that it may increase the risk of the prostate cancer. However, evidence is sufficient to support the association as of 2014. Now, how about the diagnosis of this disease? The diagnosis of trichomoniasis. Classically, with cervical smear, infected women may have a transparent halo around their superficial cell nucleus, but more typically the organism itself is seen with a slightly cyanophilic tinge, faint eccentric nuclei, and fine acidophilic granules. That is how they are presented under the what? Under the observation. You understand? But mostly recognition of the trophocytes. You understand? We can recognize the trophocytes on wet mounts of vagina and urethral discharge. Remember, I told you that they can be presented with what? With discharge in the vagina or the urethra. So they can be like the wet mounts of the trophocytes of the vagina and the urethral discharge. We can recognize it from there. And also the culture of direct smear as well as microscopic examination. That is what we can actually use like diagnosis of trichomoniasis. And remember, trichomoniasis is caused by what? Is caused by Trichomonas vaginalis. Now, talking about the treatment, the basically it is treated by metronidazole or trinidazole. Metronidazole or trinidazole. And the CDC recommends one-time dose of 2 grams of either metronidazole or trinidazole as the first treatment. The alternative treatment is 500 milligrams of metronidazole twice daily for 7 days. If there is failure of single-dose regimen, medication should be prescribed to any sexual partner as well because they may be an asymptomatic carrier. So if we actually have a male and a female that they are sexually active, like their sexual partner, and the female is symptomatic, the medication must be prescribed for both the male and the female, even though if the male is asymptomatic, you understand, because they are transmitted through direct sexual contact, and someone that's having a sexual partner is having a 90% probability of being infected with that particular parasite because it is sexually transmitted parasite, you understand. And remember I told you that some patients are asymptomatic while others show symptoms, and basically the symptoms that they show is itching, burning, as well as greenish foul smelling discharge from the vagina. So that is the symptoms that they show. So this is a microscopic examination of Trichomonas vaginalis. So if you can see this, so this is a microscopic structure of Trichomonas vaginalis. We have another one here. We have another one here. So this AF means anterior flagella. This is the anterior flagella. This RF means retracting flagella or recurrent flagella, which forms the what? Which forms the undulating membrane. This AX means axostyle. Remember, we use axostyle for what? They use axostyle for attachment as well as tissue damage. So, what have we said so far? We mentioned that Trichomonas vaginalis, they are parasites of the genital part of cattle as well as other farm animals. Of man, which causes a disease called trichomoniasis, right? And they are found in the urogenital part of male and female. And basically, the morphology of this is similar to Trichomonas tenax with what? With 4 anterior flagella and the 5th flagella, which is retracting flagella, which forms the undulating membrane, which we don't really know the function of the 5th flagella. They have the axostyle, which is used for what? For attachment as well as tissue damage. And the symptoms as well as the sign of being infected with this particular animal includes itching, burning, as well as foul smelly discharge from the vagina and the urethra. And we said, how can they be diagnosed? They can be diagnosed through the recognition of the trophozoites on wet mounts of vagina as well as urethral discharge, and they can be cultured on direct smear or microscopic examination, but most times they are recognized through what? Through microscopic examination. And we said metronidazole and trinidazole is the drug that is actually like used for this particular infection, right? And I remember that I mentioned that most time the affected might be asymptomatic, you understand. If one of them is symptomatic and they want to prescribe a drug, it must be prescribed for what? For both the sexual partner, because it is sexually transmitted and it is transmitted via direct skin contact, right? So this is all about Trichomonas vaginalis. Thank you for listening and subscribe for more.